All right, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of On the Record with Tone Vays. This is going to be a very special episode, maybe a little bit US centric, but it's going to be very, very interesting. I am in Florida, not going to disclose the exact location, and I am joined by an amazing young man, Paymon Mutahede.
Thanks for having me, Tone.
Thank you. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a background as to how I ended up meeting Paymon after the whole election situation. We're not going to get too political here, but as you guys know that watch my channel, I was a little bit upset at where America is going, being an immigrant and naturalized citizen of the US. I wasn't really happy. And then someone reached out and connected me to a man that is fighting back and helping people fight back, do something. There's going to be a lot of disclaimers in this episode. But Paymon runs the Freedom Law School. He's going to tell you a little bit about it. And my first disclaimer is I do not recommend not paying your taxes. It's up to you to decide if you're going to pay your taxes. I am just going to be doing an interview because I'm finding it fascinating that Paymon has spent his entire career looking through the tax code. This is his 1999 version. That is his 2005 version. And now it's all been digitalized and online, which apparently is making your job a lot easier than having to look through this. And he'll tell you what it is that he does. And every 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to make sure I give a disclaimer that I have not decided. I've been paying my taxes and I probably plan to keep doing it. So I'm not here to give any tax advice. And Paymon, you're also not an accountant and not a lawyer, but this has been your life work as to helping people and guide them through, let's say, lowering their tax burden significantly. And I'm going to let him speak to that. Okay, so that's my introduction. And like I said, the way I got introduced was, hey, Tone, those that really want to fight back, you got to fight the government where it hurts, in their wallet. And this is what brought me the motivation to introduce you guys to this interview. Though I'll be butting in with disclaimers because I don't want to get in trouble for this. Just the interviewer. Just like with the Capitol, by the way, I was filming the Capitol storming from the outside, and people asked, "Well, did you think about going into the Capitol?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, not really. That's probably like huge laws being broken. But if I was legitimate press, I would have considered it." I'm press, even though press people got in trouble too for going into the Capitol. So you still got to be careful and try to know your laws. Okay, we're gonna jump right in. I'm gonna do a quick introduction. We have 300 live viewers. We're going straight into screen share. Interesting. I have to show my entire thing. All right, I gotta close a document here before I do screen share. This could end very badly. Okay, now we can do it. Weird, I can't share an application. I don't know why that is. Okay, anyway, here we go. So this is Freedom Law School Twitter. You're not really, you don't tweet much, so the Twitter following is pretty low, but just so you guys know, that is Freedom Law School's Twitter. This is the website, Freedom Law School. We're gonna start here, and I'm gonna have a lot of questions. So Paymon, the floor is yours. He has a YouTube channel as well where you post videos pretty regularly, trying to educate people about the US tax code and the legality of it. I've spoken enough. Paymon, floor is yours.
Well, first of all, folks, thanks for giving your time, for your interest in freedom, for your interest to educate yourself and broaden your horizons into a whole new world rabbit hole outside the matrix that you did not know exists. So get ready, because you're gonna get stuff like Neo did with Morpheus. It's gonna get pretty deep. First of all, I agree with Tone that everybody should pay all the taxes that they are lawfully required to pay. On the other hand, if you don't owe a tax, it is your right and your duty not to pay it. There is no tax, for example, for kissing your wife. So if somebody claims
Yeah, who knows? Biden's in office now.
you know, you gotta
we're gonna talk about some of the taxes he wants to put in. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So no, I'm not gonna pay that kissing tax. Okay, there's no law requirement to do that. So just to give you an example. So I got to tell you about myself first. I'm 58 years old. I came from Iran, raised in a Jewish family, where my father talked about politics with his friend, not cars, not sports. So I had a very young educational and politics as an elementary school kid. I was a voracious reader because we had no television practically or radio there in Iran in 1960s, very little bit. So came to America in 1977, just like Tone. I became a naturalized American citizen in 1989. In 1992, I heard the income tax is a fraud, that there's no law requiring the average American to file income tax. Now, being that I found myself to be what they call libertarian or anarchist, freedom lover, whatever label, doesn't matter. I was always for the idea, yeah, why should anybody take a piece of your labor? That's you work for that. So there should be no income tax. But when I went to a meeting and this lady provided me sufficient information to see that what happens is that the 1040 form that you sign, if you look at the 1040 signature line, it says, I declare under penalty of perjury, which means under oath, I swear that everything on this 1040 form is correct and complete. Okay, so when you sign that under oath, now you put the rope around your neck that the government can pull the IRS, put you in jail. And they can share that confession form that you filled out with any of the governments out there, like Iran, where I came from. And I was concerned that they might use it against me over there. So I thought, wait a minute, we gave that information voluntarily. And that's why your right to be silent, that everybody knows about. The police stops you. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. Remember, you heard that on TV shows? You give that up. So I knew the system was based upon fraud. Well, over the last couple of years, especially, because of laws are now so easy to find on internet, which is absolutely revolutionary. As you know, the internet has changed human existence in many ways that we didn't imagine none of us 30, 40 years ago to even be possible. That you have video on demand on this device in your hand, as sharp as the television of 1980s. So the revolution of laws being available on internet allows you to read the laws and decide what the law is with your own eyes versus the bishop of the system. That's the government lawyers and even judges telling you the law is different than what it says. You see, Tom, that's how the Protestant movement in Europe got going. Martin Luther was not the man who created the Protestant movement. The credit goes to Gutenberg Press, which allowed the Bible to be printed by thousands. People could read the Bible for themselves, not just rely on the bishop of the Catholic Church, what it is, and see, hey, wait a minute, we're going to follow the Bible. Not what the bishop telling us, which is obviously against what the Bible language shows. So I'm going to do the same thing for you and for you. And in essence, Tom, what I found out is that because America was founded, totally unique in the world, by a bunch of freedom-loving rebels who literally rebelled against the lawful king of England back in the 1700s with guns, kicked him and his soldiers out. The new government they created later on, the US Constitution, they put actual restrictions on federal government's taxing power. That is the only constitution I know of any major country in the world which has that. England, Canada, Germany, nowhere has anything like that. So because of that, because there's limitations on how they can tax you directly, they wrote the tax law as being applicable only to Washington, D.C.
Let's that's a good transition. I'm gonna pull that up on screen share right now. We have a couple of things to go through. Hopefully I have some moderators collecting questions for me, guys. I know you're gonna have some questions. And here's the tax code. So this is what you were highlighting back in these books, but now it is here. And so there are several things. So correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding of your work, I've become recently familiar with Paymon's work. So one of the parts, as you already mentioned, when you file your tax return, your 1040, you are saying under penalty of perjury, I'm being honest about my taxes. And if they catch something in that form, you are now in trouble. And the only way to get around this is the Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to incriminate myself. So it sounds like the best way not to incriminate yourself, if there's something wrong with your taxes, they can always find something if they want to.
Yes.
This is how the IRS is basically an arm of the government to take down anybody they like. And it's like, how many, 80 million Americans don't file their taxes?
That's right.
About 80 million Americans every year don't file their taxes out of 350 million Americans. Well, by the time Biden's done, it'll be more like 450 million Americans. But right now, it's still about 350 million Americans. And so they don't, and very few people statistically actually get audited that don't file their taxes, because what you're saying is it's difficult to go after someone that did not commit perjury unto themselves.
That's right.
So it's a lot easier for the IRS to go after people that filed and they found something in it versus not filing at all.
Correct.
The other facet is your extensive research of the tax code itself. And we are on a government website. We are on uscode.house.gov. I don't have this link in the video description, but I will add it in there. And these are the definitions of the tax code. And over here, where we're looking at definitions as to who owes taxes, Part 9 defines the United States. The term United States, when used in a geographical sense, includes only the states and the District of Columbia. So now we have to go and take a look at the definition of states. What is a state? The term state shall be construed to include the District of Columbia, where such construction is necessary to carry out provisions of this title. So what you're saying is, with your extensive research of the tax code, the only people that owe federal taxes are those that reside in the District of Columbia?
Those who are citizens or residents of Washington, D.C. and territories, and those who get money from connected to the performance of functions of federal public office, like soldiers, postal workers, and federal bureaucrats. That's it. Those of you in the 50 states who got your own business, you work for somebody else, you got investments, cryptocurrency, capital gains, all that stuff, or work for the state, local government, you owe zero on any of that money.
And you have been using these reasons. Well, you yourself, you're public about it. Like, you yourself do not file taxes.
I haven't filed a paid income tax for about 30 years now, publicly, openly, and I've been under investigation by the IRS over a quarter of a century ago. Since 1994, I was for over a year investigated as a potential abusive tax, fraudulent tax promoter, something like that.
Well, you know what? Since we got on that topic, when you Google Paymon, this is the first thing I did when I heard about Paymon. I went and Googled him. And actually, like, I guess I'm Googling you from your own house, so different things come up. But when I Googled you from other parts of the world. The first thing that came up was actually USA versus Paymon. So this is the case against you by the IRS.
Yes, this is the tax court case we got going on, which is still not finished.
So this started in 2010.
Oh no, this is the old case.
That's an older
Let me
case.
see. Let me see which one that is. Let me see what this one is. Go down a little bit. This was a. Oh, this is a case where I sued the government.
Oh, this is you
Yeah.
versus the government.
No, let me see. Let me see which one. I'm not sure which one this one is.
No, United States is
Yeah,
the
no, they sued
plaintiff
me.
and
They went
you the
after me.
defendant.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is them
yeah.
going after you.
Okay, summary judgment and actually going to reduce. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a tax case that I had that is all completely gone now. IRS never collected a penny from me whatsoever.
But they did go after you and
They
tried
did
to
go
make
after
your
me.
life a living hell.
They tried, but at the end, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They did.
They did. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. And now this goes back to 1994 when they had me under investigation as a potential tax fraud promoter. And at the end of all that, they got zero, the whole tax lien, everything just went away.
Okay.
Doesn't exist anymore.
So that's one thing that will come up. Also, so do you have another open case right now against? Are you suing them?
No, they. I've won cases against them, but the cases are after me for year 2001 to 2006 is still on the Court of Appeal right now.
Okay, so they're still trying to come after you for So are they coming after you for not filing taxes?
Right, for year 2001 to 2006. Way back then, old years.
Right, it took them a little while to get there. Okay, so another thing that does come up, and let's go to the justice.gov website. I did read this over as well. So the title is Tax Defier and Member of the Freedom Law School, which is your company, sentenced to prison for tax evasion. And the name of this gentleman was, no, that's the attorney. Richard Thomas Grant, 63, who ran a business, so making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Actually, like here it is, his income was $500,000 one year, $560,000 the next, so approximately $500,000 a year. Did not pay his taxes for close to a decade, maybe. And the government came after him for the years 2005 to 2009. And your Freedom Law School is there. My audience is going to have a lot of questions. So go ahead and explain this situation.
What happened that Mr. Grant on his own stopped filing and paying income tax, following other people's methods. After doing that for many years, he came to Freedom Law School. When he was with Freedom Law School, I did some work with him, some with IRS issues, which ended up finding no problem with those. Later on, when the IRS came after him, rather than working with Freedom Law School, me, and the lawyer that I want to work with, he got his own lawyer, and his lawyer and him did not work with me. So, but because I testified that, at some point he was with Freedom Law School, just like at some point he drank his mother's milk, I assume. That probably could come out. They say, oh, he drank his mother's milk. He was a student of Freedom Law School, went to prison. Well, yeah, but his lawyer relied upon all the other stuff that he did before Freedom Law School. And based upon all that stuff, now what Freedom Law School taught him or had him do. And that's why he went to jail.
Okay, so let's stick to that part for 1 minute. So here's your website, Freedom Law School, and you have some guarantees where you guarantee that if the government does come after you and freeze your assets, if someone is to sign up, and again, disclaimer, this is not a Tone Vays recommendation to sign up. I was very, very fascinated, and if I'm fascinated by something, I always want to bring that information to you guys. But those that do sign up with you and the IRS comes after them, you guarantee up to $1 million of their money in case it gets seized by the government.
Correct.
And you can read more about that if you are interested. So going back to following your guidelines. So it's called Freedom Law School, but as mentioned in the beginning, Paymon is not a lawyer, but you work with lawyers.
I work with lawyers also when needed, yes.
And you're also not an accountant, but obviously you have extensive knowledge of the Internal Revenue Code. So you have your own certain steps that those that do happen to sign up, again, not a recommendation, you have to go through certain steps and your recommendations before they do something drastic like not file with the IRS. You want to be protected. I don't know if you want to disclose what some of those steps are. I believe mailing some letters to certain members of the government, and giving them ample time to respond, giving them a chance to explain, for starters, how is the IRS and the Revenue Code constitutional and legal? Because people seem to have a problem showing you the law. This will take us to this video, but go ahead.
Well, the law is completely constitutional. The Internal Revenue Code is completely legal. Okay, what is going on is they're misapplying it to people that do not owe the tax, the people of the 50 states. They're misapplying it to the people of the 50 states. So you're gonna have to, first of all, educate yourself and verify what I'm telling you is true. And you can do it two ways. One is at front page of our website, livefreenow.org.
Right here.
That's right. You see the video there, the short video there, and the other short videos are about 6 minutes each. There's about 6 of them. You want to watch those 6 videos. Actually, you want to listen to them in your car first, couple of times as you travel to and from work, because you're too busy to simply watch. I know that. So listen to it in your car. Then the third time at your home computer, watch it. And then same thing with the longer videos, the versions, which they get into it in more detail. And then those videos are the basis of petitions or letters.
So it's these videos, right? So I went over to eye-opening education. So these are the short videos that you recommend people watch.
Actually, all these short videos will link to, but other ones no.
Oh, you also have
on our YouTube channels.
On your YouTube channel.
Yeah, playlist. The best place to go on our playlist also is the short videos. Most Americans do not own tax short videos, right? That's the one.
These short videos,
right?
Okay, I've actually seen them all.
Right, and most of them link to some longer videos, also more detailed as well. So basically, the letters to Congress are written. I've written letters or petitions to Congress to explain for the congressman. Here's the exact language of the law as published by the lawyers of the United States House of Representatives on their official website. Here's the Supreme Court cases that we got from the Library of Congress. Now, when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, the picture becomes very clear that the only people required to file and pay income tax, which is completely legal, are citizens and residents of Washington, D.C. and territories like Guam and Puerto Rico, and those who get money from performance of functions of federal public office, like soldiers and post office workers and federal bureaucrats and congressmen and judges. That's it. So what I do also, Tone, is important, is all those laws that are quoted in the letter are attached from that official government source I just described. So it's not like I'm just relying on that guy's word over there. Here's an actual photocopy of the law from the official government source for you to see that I'm telling you the truth. Now, we humbly tell the congressman, if I'm wrong about any of these, kindly correct me, and I'll be happy to pay my fair share, Tone. You know, we don't want to cheat. We still let them know that. But we also tell them this, hey, since it looks like I'm right, you need to start congressional investigation into why the heads of the IRS, the US Department of Injustice lawyers, and certain federal judges are obviously, knowingly, and clearly violating the law that you can see right here about tax law and applying it to people of the 50 states like you that do not owe the tax. So that is the First Amendment proper constitutional legal process to expose and eradicate government corruption. The same way they impeached Trump, the Congress, they have the power to impeach any and all of these IRS managers, Department of Justice lawyers, and judges, impeach them, send them for a trial by jury upon conviction, remove them out of office, and put some people that will faithfully execute the tax laws as written by Congress. So that's the process I think everybody should go first.
So speaking of that, this was a very interesting documentary that I watched just last week. America, Freedom to Fascism documentary. It was filmed a while ago. This is from, it feels like the 90s.
2006.
2006. And it was very, very interesting. It's over an hour long, plus some interviews with the director. And it's basically trying to find anyone that could prove that what the IRS does is actually legal. And this documentary led to some very prominent IRS agents quitting the
Actually,
IRS.
the other way around. The IRS agents quit, and then Aaron Russo, who did it, who was a friend of mine, he found out about him and got into the whole thing.
So this was a very fascinating documentary that I do recommend people watch. It was great. And one of these IRS, there was an IRS enforcement agent, the one that would walk around with a gun to enforce taxes. And what happened to him? The government came after him because he was now saying that, well, taxes are unconstitutional and I used to collect your taxes. And he wrote a book about it as well. And what was his name? I mean, I'll just Google
Joseph Bannister. He's one of my students back in 1997. He heard
Joseph Bannister.
He found out there's no law requiring the average American to file income tax while he was a gun-carrying criminal investigation special agent. So when Freedom Law School helped him publish his book about income tax being a deception, violation of Americans' rights, the way it was being done, he presented that book to the IRS for refutal to his superiors, who sent the book to Washington, D.C., and the IRS simply said, we're not going to answer you. But a few years later, they tried to put him in jail. But guess what? Joe Bannister, even though he had stopped filing and paying income tax back in 2000, was the last year he filed. When they charged him, tried to put him in trial in 2005, they never charged him for the so-called crime of having failed to file a tax return, because they knew, in effect, he would put the government on trial. They did not refute his book that he wrote to the IRS, along with a very respectful resignation letter to the head of the IRS, Commissioner Rosati. So they charged him with some other tax stuff, which was fully acquitted, and he hasn't filed income tax, just like me either. And the IRS is not coming after to try to put him in jail, just like they're not trying to put me in jail.
But they did try to put him in jail.
And they lost.
But this is the risk that every person has to decide. This is the risk for everyone, myself included, and anyone else in this room or watching on TV. This is a risk. While 60, 70 million Americans don't file their taxes, and the probability of a single one of them going to prison for doing that, while the probability is very, very small, some people do get very bad luck. And if a person is to go against the IRS, they have to be willing to fight it in court. And that could be very problematic, as the IRS will go to any great lengths. And there are people currently doing crazy sentences for tax evasion, because the government does want to make an example out of everyone to make sure that they pay their taxes. The most recent case in the crypto area is John McAfee, who was promoting ICO scams, and the SEC went after him, but the SEC doesn't have the ability to criminally charge anyone, which is why the SEC usually works with other agencies, and the IRS is a division that can criminally put you away. And while John McAfee was breaking civil laws with securities, the Justice Department and the IRS division was able to put him in prison for not declaring the gains on those. Now, John McAfee also said that he wasn't filing the taxes, and he may go to court and try to fight it. But the main reason why the government doesn't want to take people to court over tax cases is because in a few times the jury sided with the defendant, and when the jury sides with the defendant, that looks very, very bad for any other government future tax cases, because every time the government loses a tax case, that becomes part of the law.
It's terrible publicity for them, that they're not invincible, all powerful, all seeing God that wants you to believe they are. So let me show you what's going on here, Tone.
Okay.
You know, I got a book here, one of my favorite books. I haven't read it. I know about it.
All right, let me stop the screen share so people can see it.
The book is called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is a book written by a general in China, I think, 2,000 years ago. It's a classic that military and business leaders and politicians throughout the world use to win and succeed. These are powerful people. And the principle of this book is exactly what the IRS uses against the American people. And here's the fact. What is the safest way, the smartest way, according to Sun Tzu, to win your war against your enemy? It is not to overpower your enemy. The best way is to convince your enemy that he or she is weak, make them feel weak, and make yourself look big and powerful, that therefore your enemy would be foolish to try to fight you because they're certain to lose. So the safest, smartest thing to do is simply put the chain around your neck, go to your enemy, surrender. Don't kill me, just have mercy on me, please. Well, and that's exactly what the IRS does. Because when you fill out a 1040 income tax confession form, you literally put the rope around your neck, you surrender under oath, you state all these facts under oath that are true, correct, and complete. That you don't understand because you don't know what this internal revenue code is, how it applies to your sets of facts and circumstances. You just trust in this tax guy, HRM Block or TurboTax, to tell you what to do, okay? And then the IRS can simply pick on your 1040 form amongst the 140 million 1040 confession forms filed every year and put you in jail. In fact, the fact is, on my website, I can show it to you. If you go under eye-opening education, most Americans that the IRS puts in jail are those that's the right page. That you're right page.
Oh, I wasn't on the right page.
Yeah, that are those that actually file 1040 income tax confession form. Let's go to screen share, go to the top of the page.
Okay.
And I'll show them this, okay? You see, are you worried about getting hit by lightning when you walk out there in the street? No, of course not. Well, guess what? The facts are that you are twice as likely to be struck by lightning than to be sent to prison for not filing 1040 income tax confession forms. And the calculations are all, as we go down later, you'll see it. Here's the odds, okay? So that's just a fact. Now, if you go down further down, you'll see why. Because as you see right here, this is the 1040 confession signature line. You never thought that signature line mattered. They deliberately make that tiny print font so you don't pay attention and just sign it, just like when you make a car rental or hotel reservation. Sign here as a matter of routine paperwork just to go on to check in your hotel room. But no, this is not a simple hotel room check-in. You agree to the charges. This is you putting a rope around your neck and handing it to the IRS to pull it put you in prison. And guess what? You do that, pay what you think you owe on there with the tax preparer, and you just got to wait to IRS to put you in prison. If you go down a little bit further, you will see the picture of a federal tax court judge who just did that. She religiously filed and paid income tax every year. Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, right there.
That's there. Judge Cooper. She was a chief judge of the US Tax Court. Every year, religiously, she thought she did the safe thing, filing 1040 forms. No matter what, she filed and paid what she believed she owed. Did that keep her safe? Did that keep her from going from jail? Even though she was a national expert, federal tax judge. Who knows the tax law better than a federal tax judge? She was charged criminally. Now, you would think she come and defend her 1040 form along with her accountant and tax lawyers that assisted her. Hey, I'm the judge. I got the best assistant, accountant, tax lawyers assisting me. I'm the judge of tax cases. I'm going to show the jury why everything in my 1040 is fine. No problem, because I did the right thing and filed. But no, she would not even defend her 1040 confession form because she knows you can't defend them. You cannot defend a 1040 form. I don't care how good your CPA or tax lawyer thinks he is. Even this tax court judge would not defend a 1040. And she pled guilty. She got 34 months, which is more than Richard Grant, the guy that you brought up, my former student, that he went to jail for 32 months after a trial, jury trial. He got less sentence than she that filed and made a deal. Remember, when you make a deal with the government, they usually give you a good deal. But when you go to trial, they throw the book at you, right? Well, guess what? She made a deal as a filer. She got a longer prison sentence than Richard Grant, who went to trial and lost. Why? Because the penalties for filers are much more stiff and longer sentences. All the stuff you see on my website, if you watch the videos, the links, she explains all that to you. But that's a fact. People do not know. You actually increase the odds of going to jail for a much longer prison sentences. These links I have on these, you see all this stuff, shows this stuff, okay? If, for example, IRS continues to jail tax return filers, if you click on any of those, it shows IRS every year puts in jail about over 2,000 people.
Every year.
Every year.
They put 2,000 people in jail or prison every year.
And go down, and 90% of them are filers. Over 90% of them are filers, not non-filers. And here it is. This is a letter from the IRS from 1998, if you enlarge that, which they say that back in 1996, you can enlarge a little bit more, please. They believed that there were at that time 63 million taxpayers who have not filed a tax return and would appear to have a legal requirement to file per the IRS. Well, wait a minute. If that's the case, this is the IRS itself saying it, folks. Are there 63 million non-filers in jail? That was in 1998. No. Less than 200 filers go to jail. About 2,000 filers go to jail. So which chance would you rather take? You're always going to be at risk. But as a filer, you have no defense. As a non-filer, you have the defense of following the law as written by Congress and Supreme Court behind you.
All right, now I will play devil's advocate a little bit here, and I'm gonna say out of those 63 million non-filers, there's a good chance that 50+ million of them have so little money, there's no reason for the government to even consider them. So the statistic could be a little bit skewed. Obviously, when you're Tone Vays doing this interview, you got to be real careful. So like I said, I am just bringing you guys the information because I am very unhappy with where this country is going. And I think that this is the kind of information that people need to know. I don't really want to make this channel more political than it has become, but I found Mr. Paymon's work absolutely fascinating, and the fact that he's been doing this for 20 years,
30,
working 30,
28 years.
well, yourself, but like working with people for 30 years now.
Yes.
So far, as much as I really tried to find some very like bad cases, you're still doing what you're doing, and I was able to find his case against the IRS, which you won. You have one more that is still pending, but you continue on doing your business. So I just found it fascinating. Wanted to bring the information to you guys. Now, there are additional potential complications. This is what you and I discussed. As you guys know that watch this channel, I am very unhappy with this country. And a lot of people are screaming, Tone, leave, so get the hell out. You don't belong here. And I'm considering that option. And other people are very mad that I'm considering getting the hell out instead of continuing and fight for actual freedom, the freedom that, you know, my family fleeing socialism and communism came for, that I'm now witnessing firsthand. And as part of potentially surrendering a US citizenship, you need clean bill of your last 5 years worth of taxes. So if you choose not to file, you no longer have the option of surrendering your passport. And when you heard me say that to you earlier today, you're like, why on earth would you ever surrender a US passport? Because according to the US government's own tax websites, you have all of the benefits of being a US citizen if you legally don't have to pay anything.
America is the greatest tax haven in the world, folks. If you still want to work and be productive, you can be in America and lawfully pay zero income taxes by following the law as written, remember, by Congress and as upheld by the US Supreme Court. You should rely and follow the law as written. So yeah, the thing is that a lot of people are thinking about going to Costa Rica, Mexico, Panama, all these places, and leaving these expat communities. There's no need. There's no need to go to a narco state like Mexico or a little tin pot Latin American country that 2 years later the U.S. government might overturn and have a get rid of the government like they did in Panama, and then you have no rights there. You're a foreigner. Just like John McAfee found out years ago, he went to a Latin American country, the little local officials, they wanted to extort money out of him. Otherwise, hey, you can't be here in our country. You got to pay. So whereas here you can lawfully not file income tax. The U.S. passport is the most sought about passport because it is the passport that most countries in the world do not require a visa or permission before you go into that country. Citizens of most countries in the world require from other people of the world to get a visa or permission from the government before you go there. Not for Americans. So why would you want to see? It's one thing when you didn't know about this option and you thought about going to be an expat, but now you know you have a better option. Stay right here. In fact, I recommend that you leave the communist states like California, New York, and come to the freedom-oriented states. Like the number one low tax freedom state in America is Florida. Florida is the number one destination people from within America come into it, more than Texas. Texas is only number two because it has no state income tax, low sales tax, very low housing costs, okay, with a low property tax. Texas and New Hampshire, for example, don't have state income tax, but they have high property taxes. See, and great weather. And Central Florida is where you want to be. Between Tampa, Ocala, Orlando Triangle is the place where you got civilization, you got countryside, you got international airports in Tampa, Orlando.
Civilization is
Great
debatable.
weather. Yeah. Well, it depends how much you like
I'm
a big
joking.
city.
I'm there right now. Yeah, yeah. So we are in Central Florida right now as we speak.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have some questions. I also have Bitcoin Motorist on the line with us that might read a few of those questions. So obviously, whenever there he is. So obviously, whenever the talk of these kinds of tax issues come up, Peter Schiff is a very popular person, and his father, well, famously or unfortunately, passed away while in prison doing time for, was it tax evasion or not filing? I'm not sure. Maybe you can mention a little bit about that case, because there are a lot of people in the chat are wondering.
Sure.
And also, we have very good questions that have been compiled together for us.
This is a book by my old friend, late, great Urban Schiff, called The Federal Mafia, okay? A very good book of that time.
But you knew him.
I knew him personally. I got involved in the movement back in 1992. I met Irwin back in 1990. I think it was about 6 or 7. He moved to Las Vegas from Connecticut back in the late 90s. And I was in Southern California. I visited him many times in his Las Vegas office. We were friends. And when they came after him, in fact, I knew Peter Schiff when Peter was nobody. Okay. I was at Urban Seminar, I was there. Peter was his son there. We talked about things. He was still just a regular little stockbroker trying to get going. And be that I was an economics finance guy. I got my degree in business, you know, in marketing and all that. And he were both interested in money and the Federal Reserve. We talked about that stuff. And the thing is that Urban Schiff was a great guy. And he was really the man that woke up more people toned to the fraud of the income tax than anybody else. So for that, I got to give my late great friend Urban Schiff a great word of thanks. Here's the problem with my friend Urban. He was like bull in the china shop. It was not realistic. And when I tried to help him back in 2005 when they came after him, I visited him. I just said, look, Urban, me and all the top lawyers and freedom paralegals in the country that I know, we all want to help you. Let us work with you with what you got to help you be free, because your win is a win for all of us. But unfortunately, I said, nah, I gotta be. They don't have a case against me. He went on his own and lost. That was in 2006. In fact, I was known at that time. I was reporting on his trial that day. I was there first day at nighttime, my video program. The second day after lunch, the judge, after pointed to me and says, you got to leave the court. You can never not come back. US Marshals walked me out of the building, told me never cut back because that judge ordered. They were watching. They knew I was doing this kind of a live audio broadcast at the time about Urban Schiff. They didn't try to put me in jail because they can't, because I did things correctly. And my friend Urban that wouldn't listen to me went his own thing, just like John McAfee went about things the wrong way. Okay, if you follow the law like I was trying to teach, John McAfee would not be looking at this situation. He'd be like Joe Bannister, the former special agent. He was a student of mine. He did things the right way. He followed me correctly, which is why when they came after Joe Bannister to shut him up, he beat them. Sherry Jackson, a black lady, some of you heard about. She was at Acapulco last year. You know, I approached her back in the early 2000s to work with me and Joe Bannister and others, the top leaders of the movement. I surrounded myself to learn and work together. She was not interested. I was at a trial to support her. She lost because she wasn't prepared. Folks, the fact that I'm right now talking to you after all these decades of not filing paying income tax, and I'm not in jail, that ought to tell you something. They know I'm right. Their best thing they got going is the fact that you don't know about me. Most Americans do not know about Freedom Law School because the media blackout on us. But folks, you just got yourself a red pill. Now it's up to you. You can stay in fear, false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. Or let your love of truth and freedom guide you to freedom that you deserve.
All right. It was a good speech. Motorist, go ahead and unmute. We got some questions that you've been texting me over privately. I have someone else that's putting together questions. I want to get through all of them. Go ahead. You have maybe your own question, and then we'll go from there. Oh, by the way, Bitcoin Motorist, we met for the first time at the original Anarchapulco. I was at the 3 Anarchapulcos. I have not been to the last 3, but you've gone to a few more than I have, I believe.
No, I think we went to the same amount. We both went to 3. You went to one that I didn't go to, and I went to one that you didn't go to. But yeah, we've both been to 3 Anarchapulcos. So yeah, Paymon, it's really good to hear from you. I wasn't really familiar with your work until today. But one thing, I never knew I never knew Irwin Schiff, but I think that what you say is correct, because based on what I've heard from Peter, when Peter was trying to get his father out of prison at the end of his life, when he was suffering from really, really bad health problems, and Peter was working to try to get him out of prison for the last few weeks of his life, I believe Irwin, based on what Peter said, told him, no, he wanted to win his case on the merits. He didn't want to get a compassionate release, because he was upset about that. He wanted to get, he wanted to prove his point in court. One person that you haven't mentioned yet, I believe, based on what I know about Irwin Schiff, this is my own question, is that he was telling people to fill out the tax form and put 0 income. And there was another guy, which I'm sure you're familiar with, named Larkin Rose, who also went to prison for 1 year. And interestingly enough, I sent Tone a Larkin Rose video today, coincidentally, completely unrelated to taxes. The video had nothing to do with taxes. But I believe Larkin Rose was also following Irwin Schiff's system, whatever. But is that correct? Did Larkin Rose just do the same thing that Irwin Schiff did, or was he doing something more similar to you?
No, with all the respect to Larkin, I love Larkin, and
you know him as well.
I know him as well. Way back in early 2000 years, I contacted him also. I said, Larkin, you're a leader. I approach all the leaders of the movement. I'm proactive. I'm the one that reaches out humbly. Hey, I want to work with you, learn from you. You learn from me. We get better, like the founding fathers. But Larkin was not interested, unfortunately. So you see, when people do that, Irwins and Larkins and McAfee's, I think they know it all. They're true confidence. The problem is that you stop learning. Whereas I kept myself humble, always willing to learn and be corrected is one of the key differences why I'm free and they're not. So I went to Larkin's trial, and he chose to be his own attorney. And he had a standby attorney, Larry Beecraft, a good one assisting. I was there around the closest people to him. But he wasn't prepared, and he got convicted and went to jail. And then he gave up the fight, just like Sherry Jackson. Just because they couldn't do it, they can't imagine, oh, gee, I didn't do it. Maybe because I didn't do it right, because Paymon, he's free. He's been doing it longer than me. He's not in jail. How come? They can't accept the fact that, oh, maybe I didn't do it right. And that's a sad thing. And I reached out to Larkin. You talk to Larkin. And I told Larkin, if you watch this, Larkin, I want to work with you. I'm going to put money in your pocket. You're a good man. Start talking about income tax. You made some mistakes. Learn from them. Let's move on, my friend. Let's not be depressed that, oh, well, because it didn't work for me, give up. Does that help you a little bit with your question, my friend?
Yes, thank you. So Paymon, we have Bank of Erica has done a great job sending a lot of the questions. So I'm going to read those questions here in a moment. But before I do that, I just want to make a quick point about the income tax. It's very interesting because I asked myself when I was listening to Larkin Rose and Irwin Schiff and people like that, I asked myself, how is it that I came to know about the income tax? Where did I get the information from where they told me I had to pay it? And I traced it back to 2 places. I went to public school here in America. So when I was a junior and a senior in high school, my public school teachers were telling me, hey, when you guys get jobs next year, you have to file taxes. So it's like from, that's where they were teaching, telling us to do it. And also the second place, interestingly enough, it's not a place where you might be surprised by this, but the local news, your local every April 15th, they have these local anchors that go to the post office to report this big story. You have to pay your taxes. Today is the last there's a big long line. Look here, all these people are waiting to get their taxes in, so don't get in trouble. So I feel like those are the two sources where most people get their tax information from: their local news anchors and the public school system. But enough for me. Let me read some of these great questions that Erica sent over. It's here.
Yeah, Erica, thanks for compiling questions from the live chat for us.
Yes, thank you. And so it says, Paymon, please explain your business. How does this information protect people from taxes? I guess I don't know what the point of this question is, but I think maybe they're trying to figure out how do you are you teaching a course? Is that how you make money, or what is this? What's your business?
Okay, shall you show them on the screen also?
Sure, I can do a share screen.
Let's go to our website. Yeah, at Freedom Law School's website, livefreedom.org. It's going to under course packages. On the top there you go.
Right there,
Royal Freedom Package. Okay, what I did is that for a piece amount of people that said, Paymon, I don't want just to be educated. I used to only educate people in the 1990s. People told me, Paymon, I want some help. I want your expertise to back me up. So that's what led me to create this thing called the Royal Freedom Package to help people safely stop filing and paying income tax and do it safely. And because I have now 20 years of experience doing this program, I'm able to give people this 7-year, $1 million guarantee. Okay. And what that is, you can come back to me now, is that there's in America a thing that people do not know. It's called due process of law. Besides right to free speech, besides Second Amendment right to bear arms, there's some other fundamental freedoms that make America different than the rest of the world. One of them is called the due process of law, which means the government agents cannot simply come and take your stuff. When John McAfee was in a Latin American country, I don't know where he was, and the local officials came to his house and said, look, pay us some money right now to support us corrupt politicians, or otherwise we're going to take you home what you got. They could do that in those third world countries, but not in America. In America, before a government can take your stuff, you have a right to basically some sort of a trial. We got to be somehow, we lose the trial before a neutral arbitrator or judge, and then you got to lose your appeal also to the next level before they take your stuff. And that's a fundamental difference between America and most of the world out there. The problem is the tax practitioner community, H.R.R. Block, TurboTax, bookkeeper, CPA, enrolled agent, CPA, even tax lawyers, even most tax do not know how to defend you against the IRS. Some tax lawyers do, but tax lawyers charge way too much too expensive. So what happens when you get audited by the IRS? They say, well, you got to pay me more money hourly to help you with the audit. Back in 1992, Tone, I talked to a lawyer friend of mine I met. I was doing Persian language interpreting. He told me, Paymon, don't talk about the IRS. I've been involved in the audit with the IRS, and my own CPA fees has been over $150,000 of 1992 money. So these guys, they don't know how the legal procedures of the Internal Revenue Code. They only know bookkeeping, bean counting. I don't do bean counting. I can do it. I'm great at math. Okay, let me give you show my other Internal Code book. My old book, I like that, is worn off because you see all those little tabs here? These tabs are called procedure and administration. These are the pages that actually show how to challenge the IRS technically, legally. They don't teach you stuff to CPAs, accountants. They have no idea what it is. All they know, just be a bookkeeper, a bean counter, period. So all of the rip you off, just like medical doctor system, the sicker you are, the more get to make money from you, sell you more drugs and vaccines. The system is corrupt. Same thing with the tax system they got out there. And so what I do is I know the legal due process rights. And because you have those rights, and I know how to do them, I can guarantee that for a minimum of 7 years, IRS will take zero of your living, your paycheck, bank account, home, stocks, anything. Now, you go to a regular accountant, tax lawyer, what can guarantee you got? No guarantee. No guarantee of results? None. Will you charge me fixed dollar every year, fixed amount, and take care of everything from me? No. You'll pay me whatever it takes to protect you from the IRS. And I can do it because the law is on your side. And I've learned it as a libertarian, as a freedom lover. I took accounting in college. I remember my first accounting class I had in college. I remember this bean counting guy was up there. Everybody was bored. And he said to the class, I don't know why you guys are not interested. You can make good money doing taxes and accounting work. And I was thinking, boring. Who wants to do that? But you see, most accountants were guys like that, nerds who just can go do those kind of boring work, but they don't know nothing about the law. Whereas me, I'm a freedom fighter. As you can tell by my passion, I'm a lion. I'm a fighter. That's my nature. So, and I learned the strategic of the game because as a child, I was my middle school chess champion. I played chess since I was 6 years old. So that's the game that I played. That's what makes me uniquely qualified. In fact, the top lawyers of this movement, Larry B. Kraft, Peter Gibbons, Don McPherson in the 70s. Don McPherson in California, you call him 800 beat IRS. Ask him about Paymon. He's in his mid 70s. He's a bar certified tax law specialist and criminal tax law specialist. And he tell you, Paymon knows this stuff. In fact, he told me on his own one time, Paymon on his own, you're the smartest non-lawyer I know with the IRS and smarter than most lawyers that I know. Okay, and he calls me about collection due process hearing, stuff like that. So freedom most is very unique. That's why I can give that guarantee to you, whereas your accountant and tax lawyer gives you absolutely zero except potential misery and really no defense.
Yeah, so speaking of lawyers, everyone is saying I should do this show again because I usually have a law show that I haven't done in about 6 months, but get some of those lawyers on. Hey, I want to read one of the questions. We do have a lot of good questions, but this one I really, really like. So what are you supposed to do if you want to pay your taxes, but don't want to sign, that perjury line?
Guess what? Sorry. That's not the way the game works. The law specifically says, unless you put the rope around your neck under penalty of perjury, that's all true, correct, and complete, it's not a valid return. It's as if you didn't file anything at all.
But we are specifically talking about the federal taxes, not the state and city. Those are like more legal, and that is in the code of the state that you live in. So
they could be, although most of them, I haven't checked all of them, most of them, they attach their state tax form to the federal tax form. They take the number from your federal tax form, net, put it on your state form. Well, if you have the federal tax requirement to file, you have no state either. So you don't have to file.
But it's a lot more state specific, and you mostly focus on the federal stuff.
Yes, but I focus on states also. I've become an expert on states also because I was in California. We have the most aggressive state tax agency. They're far worse than the IRS in California.
They are absolutely far worse in California. In fact, when I moved from California to New Hampshire, where I live now, the state franchise tax board in California actually wanted to send me to collections for not paying taxes because I didn't file with California one year. They said, "Hey, this guy, he filed every year. Now he didn't file this year, so he's a tax cheat." So they made up a number. They said, "Oh, you owe us $5,000 in taxes." I'm like, where did they get this from? How did they even come up with this number? Like they are really bad in California. So glad I don't live there anymore.
We just got a super chat question come in. So I have
go for it. You want to read that
first? Yeah. John, thank you for the super chat question. Legally and lawfully, what would become of global legal documents and contracts if the globe itself was proved a deception carried out by the government, not to mention SpaceX?
I think that's a troll question, but that's pretty
territorial. I don't really understand the question. But there was another super chat earlier about dual citizens with the UK and the US. I don't know if I want to get into international.
So the guy,
but Yeah, go ahead.
I think the guy's a UK citizen who lives in the US. So I think so is he supposed to pay taxes? He sent a $2 super chat.
Oh, because the U.S. in the Internal Revenue Code, in this title, primarily U.S. means Washington, D.C., not the 50 states. I can show you another quote right now to make that for everybody. We will look bigger for you right now. When it comes to other taxes like oil taxes, they actually they use the word 50 states. Let's put another search.
But on this search, people also asked about if they have LLCs and self-employed people. I believe that's under 26, trade or business, correct?
Right, trade or business. You believe it or not, according to law, includes a performance of functions of federal public office. Not a small business owner, not a contractor, not the guy who has his own LLC or artist or computer programmer. You are not in trade or business as defined by the law.
So whether you have a self-employed LLC, a sole proprietorship, it's the same. And you're technically, according to this and according to Paymon, a trade or business is defined as a function of public office.
Performing function of public office. This is not my words. This is the words published by government's website. That's what they say.
Okay, so which other part did you want me to go to?
Another whole new section. You have to search a whole new search.
Okay.
A whole new search and a new tab.
Like a general. Okay.
Yeah.
General
just type in
search.
26 space USC. 26 space USC. You can do it at home, folks. At 4612. 4612 house.gov.
House.gov.
See, now that the other definitions apply to the entire code. This one we're going to bring up, Tony's going to bring up right now, applies only to the chapter on oil taxes, tax on petroleum. If you go down to 4, United States is defined. I'm going to let Tone read that, how it's defined.
All right, so the United States is defined. In general, the term United States means the 50 states, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, any possession of the United States, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands. The United States includes continental shelf areas. The principles of section, I guess that's the first like several miles.
That's right. That's what that
of water. My geology degree is actually paying off. United States includes foreign trade zones. The term United States includes any foreign trade zone of the United States. But these definitions that specifically mean the 50 states apply specifically to oil taxes.
That's right, because this is for the purposes of this subchapter. This subchapter is on tax on petroleum.
So what you're saying is it's not a coincidence. Like if the personal income tax was going to mean, it should have stated the definition of the United States being similar to the oil, to the taxes on petroleum, but it has clearly states it differently, and it does not say 50 states.
That's right. If they wanted to do, they would include the 50 states. Look, they even mentioned the Northern Mariana Islands that most of you never heard even existed. They even mentioned the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands. I mean, come on. They specifically mention everything to the minute detail when they can, when they want to. When it comes to tax on petroleum, it applies the 50 states and any and all territories, foreign trade zones, and continental shelf within a few miles on the ocean and the sea. But when it comes to the regular income tax, guess what? It's only DC and territories.
So my obvious question is, what if I log into, like let's say a person decides not to file, they log into this website the next day, and all of a sudden, the definition of the United States has suddenly changed on this website.
They cannot do that. Therefore, they will never do that because they would have to admit that everything they did before was fraud. And the reason, by the way, they cannot do that if they wanted to, because this is the only way for the law to be constitutional. See, I heard you earlier say that others or me say it's unconstitutional. No. The law is constitutional. For it to be constitutional, it must not apply in the 50 states where the Constitution applies. It can only be applicable to U.S. Territories in Washington, D.C. for it to be constitutional. That's why it is constitutional.
All right. So John is saying that was not a troll question, but that question made absolutely no sense to me. It implies that the Earth is flat. Maybe I'm misreading the question. Give it one more shot, motorist. Okay, I think there was one more question. Oh yeah, so back to the constitutionality. Maybe it'll give you a chance to elaborate. So here's one more question. Bless you. Is it a constitutional requirement that there be a statute requiring tax payment, or are there other sources of law? I'm a lawyer. If you can answer this question, I'll read more into you. But I have to read the question one more time. Is it a constitutional requirement that there be a statute requiring tax payment?
Yes.
Or are there other sources of law? I'm a little confused on the question.
I know exactly what he says.
Okay.
If you bring it on the tab, I'll show him.
Okay.
What I'm going to bring on the screen, if you look up case of Gould, G-O-U-L-D,
G-O-U-L-D
space V period, Gould, G-O-U-L-D again.
Oh, Gould versus Gould.
Gould versus Gould.
Okay, that didn't come up with anything, but
there
it is.
Gould
versus Gould, 1917.
1917, so US Supreme Court. Click on it, it'll come up.
This one or the law?
The first one's fine. Supreme Law is good. Okay, there it is. Now that's the summary of the case. Now let's go to click on the case to get the full case. Okay, this is, as you can see, 1917 US Supreme Court case, right?
So the IRS put in the tax law in 1914, I believe?
1913.
1913. Okay, I thought it was 1914. Okay,
Yeah.
oh, there it is. The Tax Act, October 1913.
Right.
Okay.
So now if you go down in this thing, because this is a very short case, unanimous Supreme Court, we're going to scroll down a little bit, and you see then the part that says, here we go. This, would you read this paragraph, Tone,
right here,
please?
This one, this one here.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to highlight it for you guys. In the interpretation of statutes levying taxes,
levying taxes, which means in the understanding of laws imposing taxes,
it is the established rule not to extend their provisions by implication beyond the clear import of the language used, or to enlarge their operations so as to embrace matters not specifically pointed out. In case of doubt, they are construed most strongly against the government and in favor of the citizen.
Do you understand that?
That's yes.
Yes. So it's pretty simple. Yes, when it comes to tax laws, it's got to be specifically shown that the person, object, thing, or activity is being taxed. If it's not there, you cannot assume or imply it, period. That's what the court says. And the court, well, it says at the end of this well-established rule of Supreme Court, right? Well, that if you have any doubt, it's got to go most strongly against the government not having that power to tax. So yes, the burden of proof is on the government to prove that the Internal Revenue Code requires you to file income tax, and there is none. I can show you clearly as you're seeing.
All right, yeah, I'm getting DM'd, Patrick, about me going down the conspiracy rabbit hole here with these interviews. But look, I don't really care. You guys know what I think about what happened in the election, and I have so little respect for America now. I just don't give a shit anymore. This is what happens when you put a person in office by cheating your American citizens with a fraudulent election. I mean, it's whether you like Trump or not is irrelevant. One side cheated, and I would say the same exact thing if Trump was a businessman who was a Democrat and the Republicans did what the Democrats did. I'd be saying the same exact thing. So with all respect lost for America, I may or may not remain a citizen of America. I have not fully decided on what my future holds, but I am spending my days, preparing and thinking about what I'm going to do. And this is, it's really bad. It's really, really bad what is happening. And I have no respect for this country at the moment, even though I'm still living in this country. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I don't want to live in this country. I would not set foot in this country in the last 10 months, but I'm stuck here because of the COVID policies. So I don't really care what other people think about these interviews.
In fact, let me suggest you want to not leave the United States, because now to ever come back to the United States, you have to get a visa as a foreigner of whatever country you are. Whereas right now you can come back to the United States wherever you want to. It's your right. That's one major reason not to give up your American citizenship and passport.
Okay, so actually, one second.
Tone, I was going to say that I would much rather have you talking about stuff like this than about Biden or Trump, to be honest. So this, to me, I think this is actually pretty good to do. So question here that I was actually wanted to ask. Do you want me to read it out, Tone, or do you have something else?
Well, no, I got someone that's actually, I don't know the person's real name, but he's saying he was part of your course, Paymon, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I know who you're talking about. I think I know who it is.
Okay. And look, it's I'm not saying I'm not a member. My plan is to still give up the US passport. And in order to give up the US passport, I know I'm not taking Paymon's advice here that having a US passport is the greatest thing in the world. I have no respect for the country anymore. So what's the point? I'd rather be a citizen of a country I actually respect more so than a US passport. I just have no respect for a US passport anymore. And I think the world is going to go in that direction and have no respect for a US passport anymore. So therefore, but the only way to one day surrender that US passport is to be tax compliant by filing the form and to make sure that you have paid your, legal, I guess now debatable, taxes. So this is, once again, my personal disclaimer that this is not advice. This is just, I found speaking to Paymon fascinating, and I wanted to bring you this interview, but we can continue to talk about these challenging questions. All right, Motorist, anything else?
Yeah, so this one question, when I read this question, I thought he was asking about Irwin Schiff, but I think it is actually asking about Peter Schiff. It says there are a lot of people talking about Peter Schiff. Can you explain a bit about your understanding of his situation? I don't know if you know anything about the Peter Schiff case, but he's,
is Peter Schiff in tax trouble?
Probably not, but that's what people are reporting. I think he owns he's a part owner of an offshore bank, and supposedly the IRS was investigating his offshore bank, but I don't think there's anything to that story. I don't know if Paymon has anything to add to that or not.
I'm afraid I don't know. Last time I talked to Peter was 7 years ago when I came to Florida, and I called him and said, Peter, I got your dad's books here in storage here. What are you going to do with them? So I'm not in touch with Peter about that. But I'm not surprised that the feds would try to harass him, because he's obviously against the grain of the corruption and criminality that's enveloped the U.S. government. Remember, the big banks, the corporations, and the corrupt media, they're all in bed together with the high tech. So I'm not surprised they're harassing him. Peter's a smart guy. I think he'll do fine.
All right. This interview has got, I promised it would be done in an hour. We're almost got an hour and a half. So we do have to wrap this up. But I think we cover a lot of the questions. Once again, as of right now, I still have a few months to decide. I intend on filing my taxes because I also, as a high profile person, the probability of me getting in a lot of trouble being a high profile person is a lot higher than someone that is probably, I'm sure the IRS is watching this video right now, because you are probably being watched all the time by IRS agents. So once again, the disclaimer is you can always make up your own decision as an adult, and only adults are required to file taxes. So by making that decision, you are an adult making your own decisions. I am here to bring you the information, and I'm gonna occasionally, do interviews like this, because now I am really unhappy based on what happened in November. So until this YouTube channel is shut down, expect some of these interviews. Do I plan to file my taxes as of right now? Yes, I do. But since I don't have to file for 3 more months due to certain deadlines, I still have time to think about it. But that's my plan.
My disclaimer, Tone, is I filed my taxes every single year since I was 18 years old, and I will continue to do so as long as it's legally required.
Right. So look, I've been filing my taxes since I was 18 as well. So I've never missed a year. So we will see where this goes. All right. Were there any other questions on that list? We got maybe more in. Otherwise, we're gonna call it a day.
Nothing really good, but maybe there was a question about who gets the money from taxes. Frankly, I think that's an irrelevant question.
Okay, well, no, it's not an irrelevant question, but here's what bothers me even more, right? So the government shuts down the world economy. If you are a government employee, you're still collecting your government paycheck that you, according to Paymon, you're supposed to pay taxes on.
That's right.
Meanwhile, they've destroyed all of our businesses. They've destroyed our lives. Mm-hmm. They cheated in the election, and then they had the balls to print $22 trillion worth of money, while tax revenue brings in $1 trillion. So it makes you think, if they're going to print 22 trillion, but they're putting people in prison to collect 1 trillion, how does that balance out the scale?
Well, I can tell you that easy, Tone. IRS is not the powerful, all omnipresent, all powerful God will get you like that, as Tone thinks. Tone thinks he's not fine. They're going to say at the IRS headquarters in DC, hey guys, did you guys hear? Tone may stop by and make him tax. Hey, let's get a team of people. Let's go sick him. No. They admit in their own paperwork all the time they do not have enough human power and resources. Folks, the IRS says on their website, they have under 90,000 people, of which most of them are clerks. They got less than 20,000. Think about that. Less than 20,000 combined auditors, collection agents, criminal agents, managers, lawyers, anybody with some intelligence and training. 20,000. Every year, about 140 million tax returns are filed, which can be audited for 6 years. Folks, that's about 800 million tax returns that these 20,000 people got to audit, not to mention all the corporate tax returns, which are complex, and close to 80 million non-filers. Folks, you got to reclaim your power. They are not God. They are using the art of war against you based upon fear, false evidence appearing real, making you believe you are weak and they're God. And that's what Sun Tzu says, how you subdue your enemy. That's what they've done to you. My challenge to you, my friends, is go to Fear Law School's website, just like Neo did with Morpheus, and gave him a choice of red pill and blue pill. You still have a choice, my friends. You really do. Right now, Tone, I respect him. He's still not sure about taking deeper into the red pill. Well, I invite you as Tone to go deeper into red pill investigation and let that guide you. Bottom line is, this is the battle between truth of love of God. The satanic evil deception and fear is what they use. Think about that. Feel your heart. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be with fear, with deception, or Satan? That's their approach, their power. You got it. That's already there. Convenient to go in the blue pill. Or do you choose truth and love of God? I made my choice and invite you to let truth, love, and God be your guide, my friends.
All right. And on that note, we are going to wrap this up. There was one more question that I'm going to address as we exit. So once again, I cannot give this disclaimer enough. Based on me looking at the live chat, people are starting to consider this very, very seriously. So please be careful. You are taking a risk. I mean, the person that did DM me saying that he did follow your joined Freedom Law School about 20 years ago. He didn't actually specify how it ended,
What
but
did he
he's
say?
not very happy with it. But he also mentioned Irvin Schiff.
Well, let's talk about his concern. I'm happy to address it.
I also was a customer of Paymon's course, something like 20 years ago.
Okay.
It ruined my life in a very big way on many levels, but there are no specifics, which bothers me. I mean, you have to provide specifics. I mean, getting a driver's license has ruined my life a couple of times due to bad car accidents, but that doesn't mean that I've stopped driving. While Irvin Schiff and other tax protesters might be technically correct, the courts do not recognize this as valid, which is a big concern. I agree, and throw people in jail daily for willful failure to file. I'm also an attorney.
Hold on. Let me correct that attorney. False about that they put in jail people daily. That's absolutely false, my friend. According to IRS's website, I can show you my website. They put in jail. In fact, right here, give me that Freedom catalog. I'll show you right there. Right there. It's on our website. You can put it on the screen. I'll show you right here. I got this information from IRS's own website. Okay, here it is. I can put it out here for you to see. Okay, if you can see it there. Okay. Yeah. You look at that, folks. This is number of people they put in jail. Okay, over 2,000 people they put in jail every year as filers and non-filers combined. Less than 200 people as non-filers. In fact, the number of non-filer prosecution in 2016 was 159, according to the IRS. I think there's
every other day.
Every other day. But guess what? When it comes to filers, look, in 2016, 2,672 filers and non-filers that put in jail. We'll do the math. If that's everybody, 2,672 for everybody, take non-filers at 159. That means that over 2,500 filers go to jail every year. So that's about what? 8 or 9 filers go to jail every year. See, my friend, I know you're a lawyer and I respect you for that because you studied law. But guess what? You know as much about health and nutrition, and with all respect to you, as a typical MD who believes the coronavirus hoax thing is legitimate. You got to put masks on and lockdowns. They don't tell you the truth in the medical school or law school. They just show you to follow the orders. Look up these Supreme Court cases, my friend. Look up the statutes at large. I have these petitions to Congress on my website. Read them. You're a lawyer. Read them. Verify. If I'm wrong on anything in any of those letters, I'll pay you $1,000. Anybody, especially that lawyer, correct me, and I humbly thank you for correcting me.
Before you wrap, I know you want to jump off to one. I got to tell Paymon this real short, quick story. So a friend of mine, she's in her 50s. She's never filed taxes. She said the only time she got audited was when she donated to Ron Paul, because when you donate to a politician, you have to KYC yourself. She said she never got audited her entire life. She donated to Ron Paul, and the next year she was audited. So let that sink in for a second.
All right. Yes, we do have to wrap this up. Once again, guys, my disclaimer, and you heard me say earlier about those numbers. Most people that don't file their taxes, the IRS isn't interested in them because they make no money. Now, if you do make serious money, you do have to weigh the potential of getting in serious legal trouble with the IRS, and you have to be willing to fight that in court. And everyone that is willing to properly fight it in court, and this was the case in with my concern over the Ripple case, before the SEC went after them, saying, hey, if you go to court and you're not properly winning that, if you win that case, you can benefit every single citizen of the US. But if you go to court and you lose that case, you now hurt everyone else, because that sets law. And the more, I mean, I don't want to be the I don't want to be the poster child for spending 3 years in court with the IRS. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Like I said, I don't plan to be living here that long, unfortunately, due to what happened in the last election. But some people are, and people that have won those cases. And watch that video, watch that documentary. I really enjoyed that documentary, Freedom to Fascism. The link is in the video description. Please watch this documentary from 2006. I found it very, very fascinating. And once again, I was joined by Paymon from Freedom Law School. I know I found it, like I said, very, very interesting. There was one quick question. I can actually answer it because I've seen a bunch of your videos. In that, well, what if my employer is taking taxes out of my paycheck? And I believe your answer will be you can just tell the employer not to.
That's right. And I got the instructions, the petitions to Congress, and letter to Congress on our website for free to stop them from stealing your money and giving it away to the IRS.
All right, and I'm very curious about these definitions. This is probably I'm waiting for them to potentially change these definitions like they change like the health code definitions all the time. Oh, cholesterol is no longer dangerous, but most people still think that it is, as it was changed on the FDA sites sneakily, just like with the PCR exams. And you don't believe in this COVID nonsense either.
Of course not. The whole hoax, hysteria, nonsense.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see if this video gets taken down, and we'll see if Tom Vays gets taken down for doing this video. And if that happens, I'll have to fight in court. But like I said, I still plan to file my taxes. But everyone's situation is different, and everyone needs to make up their mind. Well, Paymon will try to convince me otherwise. All right, guys. Thank you, and I see you all on the next one. I'll take a look at the price probably tomorrow. I'm flying to Miami tomorrow. I'm going to tweet out I'm speaking tomorrow in Miami on a panel, and just keep an eye on that. And I don't think anything really interesting happened.